What's up, everybody? So when you guys were little, did you ever have like an utter urge, like an absolute almost like need for sugar sometimes? For me, I was one of those kids. Like sometimes I had to, like I needed sugar. And today I'm having one of those flashbacks again from my childhood. And my favorite dessert is cake, but I've never judged the best cake of New York City nor the value of the cake. So today I'm going to be finding the best cake of New York City and the best kind of cake for your value. Let's go. What would you say is like your best cake?
Are you looking for a whole cake or a slice of it?
Just a slice, yeah.
Okay,
just
our carrot, it looks really ugly right now, but our carrot's really good.
Your carrot's good?
Yeah.
Alright, I don't care about the look, I'll go with the carrot. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so this is the carrot cake from Billy's Bakery. And before I start the eating, let me first explain the rating scale of this like determination of the best cake of New York. So the scale is gonna be on a 1-to-5 ratio, 5 being the highest, and I'm gonna be grading on the icing, the cake itself, and one of the hardest things to do with cake, the cake to icing ratio. I'm super pumped for this because carrot cake is one of my favorite cakes. So let's get to eating. Now, the first thing I notice is, of course, the cream cheese icing, but also like the little, like, it looks like pecans on there. Now, in terms of like the actual cake, it's just perfect. Like, it's literally like that perfect, like, moist taste, but not too moist. I know that doesn't sound appetizing, but it's incredibly delicious. Okay, so anyway, the ratings. I'm a huge fan of the icing because it is a cream cheese icing, but it's not too sugary. However, because of the cream cheese icing not really being sugary, it's also not very rich, which makes for not too rich of a cake. So I'm gonna give the icing a 3.5. Now, in terms of the cake itself, it was perfect. The cake was nicely proportioned with like some carrots and also some nuts. So because of that, I was a huge fan of the cake. So I'm gonna give that a 4. Now, in terms of the cake to icing ratio, I was a huge fan of this. Although the icing was a little bit not so rich, the icing to cake ratio was perfect. So I'm gonna give that a 4.5. Now, that piece of cake was $6.50, and although that's not a crazy outrageous price for a piece of cake, it's a little bit expensive just for like a quick treat. Now we're gonna go to a place that for me is one of the best values of New York City. Yeah, I'm looking for like the best cake you guys have.
I like the tiramisu. You can see which one you like. I order for you, okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Now, one of the best things about Taipan Bakery is the location. It's so close to one of my favorite parks in New York City, Columbus Park. So I'm here in Columbus Park. This is the Taipan chocolate cake. And you know, the thing about Taipan Bakery is it's not a bakery that's gonna, you know, blow you away with, you know, all their decorations. Like, they don't have like that big box that like Bill's had, and they didn't have like any like fancy wrapping. It just comes in like this, you know, 10-cent wrapping paper, but surprisingly the cake looks really good. And for me, this is one of my favorite bakeries because of the location. It's right next to Columbus Park. You come here on a Sunday, there's free concerts, there's people here smiling, there's people here twirling like little flags, and for me it's the time of my life. But enough talking about Chinatown and my love for this part of the city. Let's eat the cake. You know, to make a good cake, you need to have a very like moist middle part here. And in the Chinese culture, with a lot of their pastries, they do go a little bit overboard on the moisture. And at Taipan Bakery, they, you know, sometimes fail to do this as well. However, today with this cake, it's just the perfect right amount of moisture. Like, it might be a little bit more than what people are used to, but for me and this cake, it's perfect. Within the cake, sure, there's, you know, a lot of chocolate, but actually on the edge, there's a bunch of chocolate just packed in there, which makes for an incredible chocolate flavor. Ah! So for me, the cake part It's just perfect moisture, perfect chocolatey. I'm gonna go with a 4. Now the icing is a little bit different comparable to other cakes of this nature. Sometimes people like butter on their cakes, and I like it too, but this is a tiny bit too buttery for me. But because of that, I'm gonna go with a 3. Now, in terms of, you know, the frosting to cake ratio, it's actually really good. You know, they have that like very buttery like base frosting on top, but also there's a small layer of frosting in the middle of the cake, which, like I said before, makes a perfect like moistury texture to the cake itself. So I'm gonna go with a 4 with that as well. And I also think Taipan Bakery should get like a bonus point for value and also really customer service. The cake itself was $1.50, which is just, it's ridiculous for a piece of cake in New York City. And the woman that helped me with the cake, she was incredibly nice. So Taipan Bakery, you get a bonus point. Okay, I just had the absolute time of my life in Columbus Park. Now on to another piece of cake. Now, all of these places have been, you know, wonderful bakeries, and New York does have some of the best bakeries in the world. However, none of these cakes have been really like New York cakes. So now I'm gonna go to a place that truly has like what's really known as like a New York cake. Hi, can I just have a plain cheesecake? Thank you. Bye. The New York cheesecake, the cake that's iconic to New York City, and for me, the best place for the New York cheesecake, Eileen's Bakery. Now, the rating system is going to differ a little bit because the cheesecake does have like, it's not really icing, it's more like filling, and the part that's more like the cake is more like the crumbles right here. But anyway, let's bite into at least the best cheesecake of New York City. Honestly, there's few things better than the combination of graham crackers and the cheesecake filling on a cheesecake. For me, the richness of the cheese combined with like the kind of like sugariness and also just like consistency of the graham cracker, it just makes for like the best flavor in the world. Now, something that's super tough to do with cheesecake is to make the crust like not moist but not crumbly. You know, like this is graham cracker right here, something that's to be honest very dry, and it takes something that is so, you know, like crumbly, and to make it kind of moist but not too moist so the cheese doesn't fall through, it can only be described as art. So for the cake itself, the graham cracker crust cake, whatever you want to call it, I'm gonna give that a 4.5 because it's just like right away from being perfect. Now, in terms of the cheese, the frosting, you know, it is really amazing. Like, it's excellent, but for me, it's not what makes this cake. So I'm gonna give that a 4. Now, in terms of combination, like, I mean, just look at that. Like, that is literal art right there. Like, this, I don't know if this actually can get better. So I think I'm gonna give this a 5. Anyway, guys, if you haven't eaten a New York style cheesecake, and preferably Eileen's, go check it out. It's going to change your life. Like, for me, it's one of my favorite cakes in the world, and especially Eileen's. Let's go get the next cake. Hey, can I have the pumpkin loaf cake? Hey. Okay, so this is the Sweet Buttons pumpkin spice cake. It smells absolutely amazing. There's little like pumpkin seeds on it, and of course, pumpkin spice. Now, personally, this is one of my local bakeries, so I decided to go with the pumpkin spice cake today because I've actually never tried it, and Sweet Buttons is known for having kind of like good, inventive cakes for the season. So I think this is gonna be really good. Let's dive in. That's my first bite of the season of pumpkin spice anything, and it was just done right. The cake for me is like that perfect, nice, like moistness to it. And pumpkin spice cakes, it's actually like super hard to achieve that. So because of that, I'm gonna give the cake a solid 4. The icing is like that perfect like sweetness, but not too rich as well. So I'm also gonna give that a 4. And for me, the combination of the cake and icing itself is just the perfect combination. Not good enough for a 5, but I'm gonna give it 4s across the board. Something that I really like about the New York kind of bakery scene is the variety of cakes. You know, today I've had pumpkin spice, I've had cheesecake, I've had chocolate, I've had carrot cake, and they were all incredible cakes. For me, I absolutely love and appreciate like pretty much every type of cake, which is why I want to ask you guys a question. What do you think is, you know, a pastry or a cake or a dessert that I need to try from your state, city, culture, country? What's the best thing for me to try? Leave a comment below with that. But anyway guys, thank you for watching and kind of, I guess, enabling my sweet tooth in the process. And I will see you, I gotta run for this, next time.